Hello everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. For today's workshop, we're going to create another art journal prompt, and I've got a whole bunch of things here set for this project. Now, one of the things is that when I create these projects, I have an idea of where I want to go. I haven't done these ahead of time. I'm basically doing them live, basically. So I brought out the supplies that I want to use, but I may end up adding a couple. In saying that, there is no need to take notes for the supplies that you'll need. Everything is listed at the end of the video. So, to get started, the basic stuff, just so I can get them out of the way: scissors, a diamond-shaped palette knife. I've got a Staedtler calligraphy pen here, stylus, a pencil. We probably won't need that, and I'm missing a brush. Royal soft grip brushes. I have here a small round brush. Now, I like using these brushes here because you can do a lot with them. It's a number 4, a number 8 bristle, and a 3/4 inch flat. Now, this bristle is wet. I'm going to get a dry one. There we go. Okay, so that's it for the brushes. Get this out of the way. A foam brush. A palette. I'll talk about the paints in a sec. A 300-pound watercolor paper, 300-pound, okay, cut into 4x6, and you can cut it with your scissors, or you can cut it with a paper trimmer or X-Acto knife. So you need a ruler for measurements. Americana stencil. This is called Flutter Bees, and this is a nice stencil. Paper towel. And let's see now, to go over the mediums. This is really cool. So I'm going to talk about the paint first. Okay, so the paint. Sapphire blue, ultramarine blue, transparent red iron oxide, titanium white. All Deco Art traditions. Okay. The Deco Art traditions watercolor medium. Texture Fiero in Midnight Blue Iron and Iron Black. One Step Crackle. Paper Effects in Golden Pearl. An Elegant Finish Metallic Glaze, and this is Medieval Gold. Okay, put that aside. And let's see, okay, for the palette. What I did with the palette, I put in ultramarine blue, sapphire blue, and transparent red iron oxide. And then to that, I added an equal part of the watercolor medium. And to get it started, I just used a little stylus just to get it going, because with the video, I prepared this in advance. Okay, so you just get that going. But you really, really, really need to mix that really well when you're getting ready to paint. So what I do is I dip a brush into, some water, and I mix it up really well. Okay, just like that. Then I'll rinse it out, and then with the brush wet, and I'll come in and I'll do this one. Mix it up really well. Rinse the brush, and then do this one. Okay, mix it up really well. The watercolor medium basically converts the acrylics into a format that's similar to watercolors. That's that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to paint the card. Now, with the card that we're going to paint, I want to show you this. Not like this, but I put on here, I don't know if you can see the shine. I put some one step crackle on here. Now, I'm including a visual, like a print of this, so you can see for the cracks that are appearing in here. And this is what we want to do for some of the butterflies. But the color, we're going to be doing a wash like this. This is an actual watercolor wash. We're going to be doing something like this, not with the splashes though. Okay. So for that, I'm going to dip my brush into water, and I'm going to cover the entire card. What you don't want to have, you don't want it to be sopping wet, but you want it to be wet. So any water that's beating up, okay, just drip it off. Okay. With your brush, the 3/4 inch flat, quite wet, and I'm just going to dip into a little bit of ultramarine blue. Oh, The other thing you're going to need, sorry, a misting bottle. And I'm just going to touch into that. And I'm just going to come in with just a little bit, just on the corner, just a little bit, especially around the edges, because when we vintage up the edges with the transparent red iron oxide, this will turn slightly purple. Okay, so you just want to put the blue on the edge. I'm going to dip into a little bit of water for this one. Okay. I can rinse my brush, blot it, and then come here to remove a little bit of the paint. Because we've got the watercolor medium in there, the paint actually stays pretty wet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white next to a speck. Okay, we may not even need it. It depends on how the paint goes. I'm going to come in here with the sapphire blue. I'm going to go into a little bit of titanium white just in here. Okay, we're going to need more water. A little bit of the white. And just, the white just creates a nice model. And the idea we're going to do is we're going to put butterflies on here. This is going to look like a sky. And the theme for this one here is called Freedom to Do. And basically, freedom to do what? And my idea with freedom is butterflies. I love butterflies. Okay, a little bit more. You can also tilt to get that beautiful dripped effect. I love that. Okay, keep it like that. I could take a little bit of white and come in here and just blend that just a little bit more, just if I want a little bit more opacity. Okay, now I'm going to come with my heat gun. Now I don't usually like doing this on camera, but it's important for you to see what happens. I'm going to hold it up about 12 inches, put my hand underneath to judge the temperature of the air coming out. What you don't want it to be is so hot that you burn the paper. This water that's beaded up here, I'm going to tilt it and then use the heat gun. And it dries a nice pattern. Anywhere where there's water that's pooled up. See? That's cool. Because the watercolor paper is so absorbent, it's going to hold a lot of water. You can see how curled it is. When it dries, completely evaporates the water, it'll go flat. You can see it's starting to flatten out. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to take a little bit more water on my brush. I'm going to go back into ultramarine blue. Just going to spray. Okay, and then just basically come back in. And just on the outside. And keep it rough. Don't be perfect with your blending and all that stuff. You want it rough. That's pretty. Okay, just like so. Just going to spread this out just a little bit more. The whole thing about this is you want it to be different shapes and stuff like that. You don't want it to be perfect. Okay, I'm just going to take my heat gun again. Go up to the top, which will push any of the water towards the middle of the card. And it gets really nice ridges of paint. Now as well, all this paint on here, I can just put the card right on top and it'll just seep onto the back. Because I always paint the back of the cards as well. Okay. Oh, not much on there. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of sapphire blue with a lot of water on the brush. You notice I didn't put water down first. And now we're going to spray. Just going to tilt it and you'll get all these nice patterns. There we go. Like that. Okay. Now, with this here, what you want it to dry like this. If you don't like this type of thing here, just spread out the paint just a little bit. Just don't have a perfect blend of colors. You want it to be nice and random. This is a very easy project depending on how much detail you want to put into it. It just takes a little bit of time. There we go. And I get my heat gun again, and we'll dry that. All right, now that this is dried, this is where we get to have some fun. We have to do a really rough wash on this, but let's try this way. Okay, water on your mat. Now I'm using a Ranger no stick mat. You want a lot of water. Okay, and then let's just tip in some ultramarine blue and some sapphire right over here. Okay, let's put a little bit of English red oxide, or sorry, transparent red iron oxide over here. Okay. And what to do now with the card is you're just going to basically touch the card into the paint, like so. Like that. That cool? Now we're going to dry this. Just going to quickly dry this. I don't want this stuff to mix with the other paints, so okay. Now I can turn around and just pick an area. You can add more paint. You can press it again. You get another marbling. Okay. Like so. Okay, I'm going to dry this again. I'm done now with this. Okay. Just going to mop up that paper towel there. Dry that. That looks so cool, doesn't it? You know what I'm thinking? That should be the front of the card. I like that better. I like this better. And everything gets soft and matte as it dries. That is beautiful. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to use this instead. That's actually really pretty. No, let's start with this. That's the way I started out. I really want this though. Okay. So now with this, what we're going to do is, let's see, which is going to be a nice side. This is actually a nice side here. I'm going to move the paint out of the way. And what I'm going to do is get some fresh paper towel. We're going to vintage up the edges. Dry brush, foam brush. Okay, into transparent red iron oxide. And I'm just going to do the edges. Okay, that gets the edges, gets rid of the white. And then I'm going to come in and just do this. If you have a cosmetic sponge, that actually turns out quite nice as well. Just make sure that your foam brush is dry when doing this, not wet, because it'll ruin the effect. Okay, so I got those edges done. That just gets it started. Okay, I'm just going to put that in water. Alright. So now, this is still a little bit damp. Okay, so a little bit damp. What I want to do is I'm going to let this dry for about, probably about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, just so it's not so damp, because the next thing we have to do now is with our stencil with the Fiero to go on top. And I want the paper to be relatively dry before we do that. The other thing we're going to do is put on some of the one-step crackle, and I want the surface to be dry. I mean, it's damp. Okay, so I'm just going to let this dry for a couple of minutes and then come back. Okay, so what I've done, this is dry now, and I've taken the texture Fiero, so I've got the Midnight Blue Iron and Iron Black, and I put some on the mat, and there's roughly, you're not going to need all of this, but what you want to do is you want to take some black into the blue and make it almost black, but you want it to be a little bit on the blue side. You want it to be a little bit on the blue side, just a speck. But you want it really dark. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. And what we're going to do with the rest of this stuff is going to be used for another project. For the stencil, what I'm going to do is I want to, because there's going to be writing on this, I need to align the stencil. Align this stencil. Oh, you got all the, well, you know what? I can't help the glare from the camera. I can't help that. I want to align the stencil into a way that I can put some writing up here. Now these stencils go to the very end, so you can do that as well. Okay, line that up. And I'm going to get some tape. Now, I usually would use masking film for this, but you don't need masking film. You can do it just as well with painter's tape. Okay. So the writing is going to be here. So make sure you've got that there. All right. They're going to take this and we're going to, it's like frosting a cake. Okay, I ran out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just black. Then just grab some blue. And all it's going to do is make it like a marble. Where the little circle is, just use blue. Use whatever you want, actually. And what you want to make sure is that the butterfly is completely covered. And try to get rid of any heavy ridges, because when we pull the stencil off, that's the way it's going to be. Okay. Take your palette knife and clean it right away. When you lift this off, lift it off cleanly and slowly, like so. Beautiful. Now, I'm going to pause the camera. I got to go clean this right away. I'm going to scrape all this off onto here. Then I'll take this, put it into a palette, and just put a little cover on it so I can use this for my next project. Alrighty. So now I'm going to have to kind of clean up those edges. So I'm going to dip into the medium and just kind of go to the edge and just gently fill it in. I didn't go quite to the edge enough. You don't have to, it doesn't take much. Just needs just a little bit. And sometimes when I do this, sometimes if there's a bit of a bump, I can sand it. We're going to be putting some gold over this as well, over the butterfly edges, so we don't want any paper showing. And that's it. Yep, that's good. All right. Now we're going to let this dry. This is going to take about an hour to dry. Okay. While that's going, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to take some one-step crackle with my round brush. And I'm going to be putting the crackle just on certain parts where I want it to be crackled. This goes on glossy. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on around the edges, the corners. Okay, keep it rough. I'm not going to put too much in here because that's where I'm going to be doing my writing. But I like doing the corners. Around the butterfly. Like that. Okay, just now I don't know if you can actually see this. Okay, so where it's glossy, that's where it's going to be all crackled. Let me just add a little bit more in here. Right around the butterfly. And the thicker you put it on, the thicker the cracks are going to be. There we go. That's better. So that leaves me this area here for doing my writing. Alright, so I'm going to put this aside now for about an hour. Let that fully dry. When we come back, we're going to take the metallic glaze and we're going to glaze some of the butterflies. I'm going to take the paper effects and I can actually I can do this now. I don't have to wait. Let me just... Okay, the paper effects, I'm going to get it started off the palette. Okay, and I can come in and add just some dots to further add to these black ones that are here from the stencil. Okay, like that. Okay, that'll just be one less thing that needs to dry. Okay, like this. And you know what, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to add, let me just get a little pin here. I'm going to add some black to this as well. I couldn't get the nozzle unplugged. And just add just some black ones as well. This is very dimensional. Like that. Hit that so everything goes down to the bottom. If you have a paper clip, you can unplug this if need be. Okay. I have a little stylus that I can push in as well. That'll keep everything unplugged. And that's it. So now I'm going to let this sit. And I'm looking here, and the crackling is already starting to take effect. Really, really mild crackling. Gonna let this dry, and we come back. We'll add the metallic glaze to the butterflies, and then I'll do my writing. Alrighty, we're back. So this took about an hour to fully dry, and the crackles, you won't be able to see it this way because because it's transparent, so light. What I also did is I glazed some of the back with, oh goodness, Glamour Dust Sapphire Blue, very lightly, just to kind of bling it up a little bit. Okay. Now, I had some real issues with the writing. I even went to stamping it. This is a stamp for the other one, and I was playing with the stamping with True Gold Traditions paint on it, and then just a plain black stamp pad from Fiskars. And the unfortunate thing is that the stamp letters are a little too big for this. I'm gonna have to write it, and I get so nervous with this because my writing is awful. So I'm going to go, I've got my Staedtler calligraphy pen. I actually picked up a full traditional calligraphy set. Writing like this is not for me. So, and what I did is I marked some lines in pencils as my guides, and I did some practicing of what I'm going to be doing, and I hope I don't mess this up. Okay, so I'm just going to do some basic. Okay. I'm not going to talk either. There we go. Freedom 2. And I shouldn't play with it. So I always get into trouble. I always get into trouble. You got to put the little tails on everything. Okay. This would have been nice and gold as well. So Freedom 2. And so that's the actual theme of this, Freedom 2. Freedom to do what? If you had no limitations, you would have the freedom to do what? I'd have the freedom to do art 24/7, 365 days, because I would get somebody to invent something that would allow me to stay awake for all that time without going insane. That's what I would do. Okay, the last thing that we need to do. Elegant Finish. It's a metallic glaze, and I'm using Medieval Gold, and I shook it up just before. And I'm going to be using this nice, it's called a Sabelline. It's like a little mop brush, but it's very, very fine, and I love using this. It doesn't even need to go into a palette. You just dip into it, rub on a paper towel, and all I'm going to do is basically just glaze over and touch over the butterfly. And you're just dry brushing. I like working the edges. You're just adding just that little subtle shimmer on the butterfly. I used to do this type of thing. It was before Decor came out with this product. It was using their it was like a snow texture, and I was using a Krylon pen. And my Krylon pens, they only lasted 3 or 4 applications because I was just ruining the pen. Now this stuff is so nice. This Texture Fiero, it's just wonderful. There we go. Just a hint, not a lot. Oh, this is the part of the butterfly where it was blue. Right here, I forgot. I'm going to leave that blue. I'm not going to put any gold on it. But the actual little body, I'm going to put a little bit more. There. But the black circles, I'm going to leave them as black. There we go. So the sides are still okay. I'm going to put that little brush away, put the cap on. And that's it. This project is finished. So there we go. So there's a very inspirational card. This would actually look beautiful as a large, like a really, really large piece, a 16 by 20, and you can stencil the letters, do this really big. You just put more butterflies on it, and it's a very nice inspirational piece for your wall, whether it's an office or in your studio or even somewhere, you know, anywhere, just to inspire, in the kitchen. You know, freedom to cook whatever. So anyway, so I hope that you enjoyed this project. I'm going to let that dry completely. I'm going to let this sit overnight, and then I'll put it together with my other ones to form my little journaling book. So have a try. I'd love to see a picture, and all the supplies are out on the end of the video, so I hope you enjoy doing this. Until next time, stay inspired.